Hi there, welcome. I'm Bob Thompson, and I'd like to welcome you to the Philanthropic Planner Show. Those of you who have surfed in between commercials and baseball games and so on know the Philanthropic Planner Show is designed for you, me, and other people who can be philanthropists, even though we don't have multi-millions of dollars, and for philanthropic planner advisors. I know that because some of these advisors tell me every once in a while that they're checking in to see if I'm telling the truth, so I have to be careful on that. But Philanthropic Planner, we were just mentioning, is about 8 years old, either this month or next month. And it's designed to kind of create meaningful dialogue and a friendly forum, and we want to talk about the boring subject of philanthropy. So welcome. And we'll get into it. But before we get started, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on local news and some of the other things that we do every show because we've got some important guests here, but I do want to start by saying we got the biggest response of any show recently from the Red, White, and Blue Philanthropy in July, which happened to be the day before the tape, when we did the taping was the day before July 4th. So we had the Celebrate America at the Meadows over here, and I had a number of flags around me, and 5 or 6 people have come up and said, whoa, patriotic Bob. I surfed through, saw the flags, went to my program, came back 2 or 3 times, and we even had a very lovely lady say that she was in tears because she got this July 4th feeling. So maybe I should have flags every show or something, I don't know, but welcome. We want to kind of do away with the legalese. We want to simplify the complexity, and as I've mentioned before, Bob, I would like to do more if I could. I would like to do more if I knew how. Well, if I could really goes to capacity, and we're going to talk about capacity in a minute. If I knew how, that's kind of starting this conversation and finding out what your neighbors are doing and what friends across the country are doing when you do have capacity. And the news part, I only have one thing locally where Charity Folk sent an email here the other day about a memorial for Martin Luther King Jr. and having it in Simsbury. And a couple years ago, some seniors at the high school did this program on Martin Luther King Jr. being in Simsbury for 2 summers, working in tobacco fields, and there's a group in the community that want to have a memorial. So look out for that. You'll see more about that. It's a fundraising for the memorial, and I just want to limit the news to that. Today we are fortunate enough, and I had my arm twisted several times, and I said, okay, I can't take any more of this pressure. Tracy, will you please be on my TV program? So today we have 2 of the co-founders. One, Tracy Flater, co-founder and executive director, and Sean Harris, co-founder and artistic director. Yep. Welcome. Sean, I feel bad that we have Tracy between us, but we have to kind of put up with that. But seriously, it's like that July 4th and getting in the mood with the red, white, and blue. But when we talk about theater, kind of get the juices going and the smell of the grease paint and the roar of the crowd kind of thing. But I've told Tracy several times that way back in the dark ages, I was involved in theater, and that's all we'll say about that. Okay.
Are you looking to pursue an acting career? I'm a casting director as well.
I understand.
He is the casting director.
I understand, and this is kind of out of order in talking about, but I understand there is coaching for theater, acting, and who does that?
I do private lessons for adults. We also have a big education program that hits 5-year-olds up through adults. And then I have private students that are adults. I also have intensives for teenagers. And then Darlene, who's our other partner, does like a dance boot camp every summer.
Yeah.
And so we have some education
And we actually do
programs
have a
throughout the year.
director of education at the
Yeah.
Playhouse, and she's primarily responsible K through 8 in generating programs for them, and right now teaching. As that grows and expands, we'll be bringing on more faculty to enhance that, but she's pretty busy already.
Yeah.
But acting coaching for adults?
I do have that. Yeah, it's private, and I'm very
Alas,
inexpensive.
poor Yorick.
Oh, I knew him well.
I
Horatio.
knew him.
I knew him.
Horatio.
Good. That is a misnomer about the well.
Doing
there is
well,
no well.
it's Horatio.
Yes, it's Horatio.
Right?
Yeah, you got me on that.
Yeah.
I misquoted.
He's a fellow of something infinite, just
Good.
Horatio.
We really have to work with you.
No, no. That would be trouble. Speak the speech, I pray you.
There you go. You
He has a
nailed
good
it.
face.
As I
Look,
pronounced
you know
it to you, trippingly on the tongue.
It's a great alliteration there.
Yes.
Have fun with that.
Anyway, welcome.
Thank
This
you
is
very
his
much.
passion.
As you can see, Sean, we do have fun because when you're talking about philanthropy, we have to be, basic there, and that's why I'm enjoying having both of you here. Tell me about, I know a little bit, and that's dangerous. Tell me about the history, because Playhouse on Park is 3 years old?
Just
Yep.
celebrated our 3rd birthday.
Okay.
Yes. It was quite an unexpected opportunity that presented itself for Sean, Darlene, and I. We were just building a 3-year plan to open or build theater space elsewhere in Connecticut when the former Park Road Playhouse went through a bankruptcy. And our arms were truly twisted by the people from the town of West Hartford, the Park Road Association, the Chamber of Commerce, the landlord, that they were really worried about having a boarded up vacant space on Park Road, and they felt that what was there before, which was a community theater,
Is that where the children's, that's next to A.C. Peterson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
It brought life to Park Road, and what we were building and dreaming of, for elsewhere, seemed even more exciting to them. So they literally approached us at the beginning of April, and we moved in June 1st of 2009.
How
did the three of the co-founders, what was the connect there?
Darlene and I work together artistically. I was talking about how I teach at Hall High School in West Hartford. I also ran a program called the West Hartford Summer Arts Festival, which is still going strong. And Darlene was my choreographer, and we worked together. We always talked about opening up a theater together, and Darlene and Tracy worked together. So it seemed like a good fit.
Darlene worked for me at Hart. She's also a dancer, choreographer, dance teacher, and has her own dance company. So as she was working for me at the Hart School, I was also working for her, helping her on the business side of her dance company. And when this opportunity presented itself, I went alone to see the space and thought I really need a little bit of insight from Darlene, who's the dancer and the dance educator, and she said, well, we also need a little insight, and Sean's always wanted his own theater, so we dragged him on board. And, that was probably in the winter of 2009, January, February, and we were just, we really started to draw up what this dream theater and educational facility would be when this opportunity presented itself elsewhere. So that's sort of how it came to be. And literally, we decided April 1st to do it, incorporated May 1st, moved in June, put a few things on stage throughout the summer to introduce ourselves, and kicked off our first season at the end of September in 2009 with $3,000 to our name.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Disclosure, Sean,
Sure.
I knew Tracy back at the Hart School, so I kind of go back there and find out the wonderful things, because I had very little to do with it, but indirectly we wanted to bring the Hart School to Simsbury, and that's been a good marriage and good for the community.
Oh, absolutely. Fantastic.
In order to do that, three people who have the passion in one respect or another, coming together like that with literally no money.
no working capital
But
whatsoever.
an interest by the community. And theater, if we went back in history, that Speak the Speech or Hamlet or what have you. Theater has always been a part of the community, and it takes people of passion to deliver it, and of different disciplines. I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's dance or singing or acting. So you are doing a lot in the community. I saw this and I sneaked in, Tracy, and looked at the website.
Good.
Best Community Playhouse, 2010 and 11, Hartford Magazine. Best Community Theater, 2010, 2011, Hartford Advocate Readers. So not just the community, but the state. Oh, we got more honors?
Oh,
Well, the big one is Best Professional Theater Connecticut from Broadway World.
Wow.
And that was the big
Wow.
one that we got for 2011. And we are a professional theater, and one of the tough things is, what I like to say is that we're professional theater that embraces the community. So I'm glad we got the Community Playhouse Awards, because that shows that we're reaching out to the community. We actually have something very unique in theater, which was kind of part of our plan. It's kind of like this hybrid model. So we have professional actors. I go and cast out of New York, people that are on Broadway, off Broadway, perform regionally all over the country. Also professional actors who live locally and might have other jobs and careers, and we embrace them as well.
How do you network? Is that your history that you know these people
A lot of
professionally?
it is that I've worked in regional theater for 20 years now. So almost everybody that we've kind of brought in, at least for the play series,
directors.
for the directors have been people that I've worked with, people that I've trusted, people that were recommended by people that I worked with, and some of the actors were too. And it's been really great that that they've come to this little 163-seat theater.
Okay, I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I thought it was about 150, 180 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
and you're
yeah.
close. As I remember, you're within 4, 5, 6 rows of being right there at the stage.
It really makes
4
us.
rows, yeah.
Yeah, it really makes us unique. We call ourselves the most intimate theater in Hartford. We're probably one of the most intimate theaters in the country, because even other theaters that are maybe 160, 150, they have a proscenium space. So the actors are on one side, and then the rows go back.
Right.
But here, because we have a 3/4 and there's audience on each side, and
Never
there
more
are
than
4
4
rows, you're really getting an intimate experience.
3/4 round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I love your theater training, and it's fantastic. I'm telling you, we've got to get you involved.
I've told they're shared with Tracy just a little bit, and I don't want to share any more.
I'm ready. Come on. We'll get a headshot and resume. We'll get it ready.
Yeah, yeah.
No, and I mean, literally put our casting notices, in the state of Connecticut and in New York in publications that actors typically would go to looking for work. And I think I told you the last show we casted 5,500 submissions in New York alone,
Wow.
something crazy like that.
And then what happens is I only go to New York for a couple days. So then I have to whittle those. I mean, I have to go through everybody's headshot and resume down to about 100. And then that was the show that I directed in June, Metamorphoses, and that we had 4 actors from Connecticut involved. A couple,
Out of
one,
10? Out of 10?
yeah, a couple from West Hartford, one in Branford, and a couple went to schools at UConn. So
In their acting program.
in the acting program. So one of the plans is to try to really bring the emerging artists, or maybe especially with young people. I really believe in kind of nurturing the growth of education.
Do you get students from Hall High School,
I
for
do.
example?
And I think that's one of the great benefits of me being a teacher there, and also working at the theater. For example, we have interns that are high school students that would never get opportunities in a lot of professional theaters. We had 4 interns working backstage on several shows. And so they're learning to
All
work
high
with
school
all
students.
high school
Yeah.
students, and they're learning to work with professional actors
That's wonderful.
regularly.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And the same goes for the local colleges. I mean, on a regular basis, we have interns working in the front of house, in the administrative side from the Hart School's arts administration program, and then we also have students from the Hart School that are in their musical theater or theater majors coming and performing over
That's
on the
great.
theater.
Now, small audience, you bring professional people in. I doubt whether you're both paid exorbitant salaries. How do you pay these actors? Is it expenses? Is it how do you entice them to come to a small theater like that?
I entice them, I don't know,
Artistic
because of
quality.
trust, because of artistic quality. It's really, we've had a tremendous record right now in 3 years of putting together
Impressive. I have to say.
artistically successful shows. They haven't been the most successful in terms of audience, but they have been artistically successful.
So you have a number of, what do you have, 2 weeks of shows? The
Three
same?
weeks. For
3
our main
weeks?
stage season, it's 3 weeks.
Okay.
15 performances plus anything additional for students or, daytime school trips and
Okay.
things like that.
So some of it people will be interested because they're able to know that they're going to produce quality work. That would be awesome. But also
It's a resume builder.
it's a resume builder for the
experience.
young students. But also we've been able to grab some bigger name like Broadway people
Yeah.
between gigs, because we're only we'd be a 6-week commitment. Also, the intimacy and the role is exciting.
Yeah.
So it depends on who you ask and what. If there's a nice role, a juicy role, people come out for it.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the opportunity to work with the director. And if
Absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
union, they tell us what we're paying them. We don't really
Yeah.
have any options. But
Yeah.
if they're non-union, there's some wiggle room. And again, some of these people would do it for just about nothing.
You house them locally?
We do.
Is that
Is something-
donated?
It is.
Okay.
And people have been very generous because we ask for most of the time like a 6-week commitment from them.
Yeah.
From the 3-week rehearsal period and then 3-week performance. We're constantly looking for people to help out in that regard a lot, but we've had several donations.
It ranges. If they're not in the union, there's not really any restrictions. We just try to find them a private bedroom.
Sure.
They can share a kitchen, share a
Sure.
bath sort of thing. So a host home, for example, would work just fine if somebody's open. People who usually do student exchanges
Yeah.
are much more open and interested in doing this. And it's a really interesting experience for our hosts. Our hosts always find it so fulfilling and do it again and
They'll take
again.
them around the area. They'll show them all the sites. It kind of gives them an excuse
They like
go
to
out.
hear about their lifestyle and being in the arts and being in
Yeah.
New York, and then they come and they see them perform, and they're really proud to have been a part of that. There's more strict requirements once they're union or
Yeah.
they're more established,
Yeah.
where they need to have private kitchen, and we have had landlords all over West Hartford and Hartford who have donated apartments that are just not being used at the moment, as well as beautiful relationships with places like Doncaster and Summerwood who have vacant apartments, and having our actors stay there
That's
just
great.
breathes new life into their communities.
great.
And we say thank you by having the cast go over and do little scenes from
See,
the
that's
show. And
such value to the community to have that culture, that art.
And especially a place like Doncaster.
Yeah.
They go see
They
some
come and
events.
yeah.
They come see, but they also, they were walking around with Golda from Golda's balcony.
Yeah.
Who's talking to them, and her neighbor gave her a little gift as she was leaving, and it's kind of a nice different experience.
I spoke to Tracy recently and said something about Macaulay coming over, and right after that I spoke to 2 clients who happened to reside at Macaulay, and both of them attended
Were they there?
that session.
And?
One could not stop talking about
Excellent.
how much fun she had. They were so energetic, young, excited. You could just see that they enjoyed it. She just kept going on and on and on. And you have to appreciate here's an 85, 86-year-old lady that said, I won't miss them in the future.
excellent.
So she's going to be encouraging Macaulay, social director or whatever, puts that together
Awesome.
to go
Excellent.
back. That's fun.
And that's by far been our biggest challenge, because moving in without any working capital.
Oh, word of mouth
and-
is critical there.
Yeah, we had some setbacks in addition, lost a major sponsor, lost some equipment, which caused more expenses. So the one thing that has suffered greatly is the ability to spend money on marketing. So we rely greatly on word of mouth, guerrilla marketing, spreading the word any way we can. Hopefully going into season 4, that changes a little bit for us.
When does the next season start?
In September, October.
Okay.
The first show goes up October 10th.
Let's get into some of the meat of this. Okay.
Sure.
Sure.
We're on the Philanthropic Planner program. I want to talk about sponsorship. I want to talk about how these people can not only be encouraged to attend, which is what we've been talking about, but how can they financially support Playhouse on Park? Tracy knows me enough, Sean, that this really is one of my passions. It's a distraction from my regular business. This is an asset to the community, and people in this community can, for those, and I started off talking about capacity, we have people that come to our firm that say, I would like to give more. Who do I give to? So sharing with them assets of the community and giving back, that's part of it. But you're in a campaign to raise funds, okay? And share with us what the plan is overall.
Sure. Well, the most important thing to realize is that in the performing arts or in any arts organization, tickets never really cover the cost of operating, a theater and an arts organization. It can't. Being a brand new nonprofit that started in probably one of the worst economic times that I've seen in my lifetime, but many of us have seen, has been a challenge, to say the least.
501c3?
We are a 501c3. It took us about 14 months to get our determination letter. So for the first year was even more challenging because if people donated to us directly, they weren't getting that tax deduction. In September of 2010, we got our 501c3 nonprofit status. So it is absolutely a tax deduction for anyone to write a check to Playhouse Theater Group. We have just embarked for the first time in our existence on a capital campaign. It's not even a capital campaign, it's an annual campaign just to give us the mechanism, the tools that we need, the finances that we need to pay the amount of staff that it really takes to run the organization. We have yet to been able to pay a grant writer. A lot of the people...
Which is critical.
Which is critical. So in our first year out, we're looking to raise $550,000. That's not to say year two, that should start to shift, where a lot of that is coming in through, grants and private foundations and public sponsorship, because we will be able to afford to have somebody focusing full-time efforts on that. For the first 3 years, it has been a labor of love or a work of passion, because, until we get to a point where we have artistically proven ourselves, we've proven to the community that there's value to having us there, people have been a little gun shy at writing the big checks. We get the little checks, and so therefore we've all sacrificed salaries for a good portion of the time that we've been there. And going into season 4, as rumor has it, it takes about 5 years for a nonprofit or a theater to sort of begin to stabilize.
3 to 5 years would be the benchmark, I would think.
Time to get serious, and we've tried to do it as an all-volunteer board and an all-volunteer staff, and in raising the funds. But we finally brought in a professional who has more than guided us and helped us design this campaign and get it underway. So.
Good. Dedicated board, committed board, diversified board?
All of the above, maybe a little fatigued because we've worked them hard for 3 years. So we
Shauna, I know how she works.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. I mean, they've stuck with us,
and
thick and thin, and it has certainly had challenges. I mean, we have not been stable enough to weather a storm when it happens to come its way in October, the third weekend of a show, which is our biggest selling weekend. We've just never really had that sort of
I didn't even think of that.
Rainy day.
Oh, it changes changes the next month of our lives.
Yep, absolutely.
It was about 4 weeks. I think we did $27 in revenue, and our shows run 3 weeks, and by the third week, it's almost all word of mouth, and everybody who's put it off, and the biggest audiences. And when that October storm hit, we lost the entire third weekend of a main stage show, and our first children's show of the season was opening 2 weeks later, and that first weekend was just decimated. People weren't getting their newspapers, they weren't getting the internet, they weren't watching TV, they weren't even in town.
Right.
So we were just, that's sort of what as we grow and build, we sort of have to have, that money in the bank for, natural disasters that set us back a little bit.
You need a reserve. You need a reserve
reserve
to sustain you through those gap periods. And corporations, private foundations, and people who have the capacity. And there are people out there that can remember, back in the dark ages, I always say, but remember the influence of theater in their lives in some form. Tracy knows, Sean, that we have 3 of our children tour Up With People and singing and dancing all over the world. And a musical family, so we really relate to the musical aspect of it. But the acting, I think back on this, high school, college, and professionally. Not me as a professional, but I was in Mr. Roberts.
Great.
Three times.
Really?
High school, college, and
the play does not get done a lot anymore.
The Kenley Players in Ohio and Indiana, professional. But you know, that experience, I could tell you almost every line of every character in that after the 3rd time. But sure. The influence on your life certainly is dramatic. Improv, you're doing a lot of interesting things in addition to your regular shows.
I mean, part of that is really trying to not only like find our audience, but also find interest of people in the community. And that's why we're kind of saying, like, we're a professional theater that embraces the community. Well, there are people that will just come to our comedy shows. Great, let's provide an avenue for that. So we have comedy nights throughout the year. We also have improv classes as well as improv evenings where some people come to that. And maybe after they come to that, they'll be like, oh, this is the next show, and they'll come. Like, we try to really give them a lot of opportunities to be entertained, because as you were saying, I mean, these are life experiences, and I can't stress, like, going to see a show in our space is different than a lot of other theaters occasionally, and not necessarily, I mean, in artistic quality sometimes, but also just in terms of how we embrace them and the audience, partly because of the intimacy, but partly it's a mission of us to kind of make these theater experiences events for everyone.
And the other piece is that we never want to be dark. You know, the theater before us was dark an awful lot. And why? We have a stage, we have space, and we know that when we bring people in, whether it's for our murder mystery event or our children's series, I mean, the rest of the community benefits. We have a dining partners program. People go out to eat before, they go out to eat after. I mean, we're always in the calendars because there's always something going on, and we want to be that destination. We want people to say, I wonder what's going on at the Playhouse tonight, and turn to us before they look, you know, at other things. And we've had people in their 20s say, thank you. Thank you for giving us something more than open-air dining and movies in West Hartford. You know, and that's... Families?
Do you find parents bringing
Absolutely.
Children?
Our children's series was designed to expose young audiences to the arts. So we have plays, we have musicals, but we have magicians, classical music,
and very
popular.
And one of the best aspects of that is we have, with our education director, usually before, if a student group comes to see a show, she'll go out to the school, kind of prep them, give some guided questions. So it ends up being part of the curriculum. I'm very much into, like, figuring out, I mean, I've written my curriculum at my high school. I've written a couple curriculums, you know, figure out kind of what are those, like, national standards and Connecticut standards for arts education, and then bring that into the classroom. Then they come and see the production, and they learn so much more.
I told you that the 2 hours would go very quickly. Okay? Now you have information that you know where, one, you can go for an exciting evening, two, an organization, a 501c3 that you can gift and support. So don't say I didn't tell you, and I did bring the flag this time. See you next time. Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.